Okay, so this is something you don't see every day. This is me lying underneath the car. I'm lying underneath Amalia, the wagon, and so like reason number 686,000 why you should go to the gym. If you're fat, you're not going to be able to get under the car. Like that's my rib cage. Like that's my rib cage, like right there. So I slid under the car from the front, under the hood, instead of the side, because the jack is right there and kind of in my way. So what I replaced, and hopefully all this is coming through on the camera, what I replaced is right there. It's an oxygen sensor. You'll see the blue wire that's connected to that right there. That's one end. And the other end is tucked right up in there. It snaps right in. It's like a plug and it snaps in. There are 4 on just about every car. The other oxygen sensor, the rear, is right there. And then the other 2 oxygen sensors are actually like, they're up like kind of where the camera is pointing right now. They're up further. This bump here, this little canister, is the catalytic converter, just FYI. So you have 4 oxygen sensors. The 2 front ones, or they call the upstream oxygen sensors, are located in front of the catalytic converter. What I replaced today is considered what they call a downstream oxygen sensor, and that is directly behind the catalytic converter. In a second, after I crawl out of the car so I don't get squashed like a bug, I'm going to show you why this particular oxygen sensor failed, and what caused the check engine light to come on, and why it needed to be replaced. But again, this is me under my car. You don't see this often, especially like from gay guys. So I'm actually very proud that I know how to do this shit. Okay, so day 2 of Grungy Garage car maintenance is done. We have 3 successful completed missions. The hardest was what I just did to the wagon. I'm gonna turn off this little flashlight thing. There we go. The hardest thing that I did this weekend is what I did to the wagon, because that was like a legit repair or maintenance item, and I've never done this kind of stuff before. I sounded like I knew what I was talking about a few seconds ago when I was lying underneath the car. Full disclosure, I really didn't know what the hell an oxygen sensor was until last weekend. I mean, I knew what they were, but I had no idea how to go about replacing them or anything like that until last weekend, when all of this went wrong and I didn't have a choice but to figure it out. So again, I make these videos because I want other people to see and understand that this is actually, a lot of this stuff is actually not difficult stuff. It's common sense. I am 100% right-brained, and if I can figure some of this shit out, then anybody can. If you are mechanically inclined at all, or left-brained instead of right-brained, you're gonna like, you know, fly miles higher than I would when it comes to stuff like this. So, you know, I mean, it's just, a lot of it really is just basic common sense. But anyway, so I'm gonna, oh my goodness. Okay. So this is the old one, the old oxygen sensor that I just pulled out, and I'm gonna kind of hold it up to the camera. So it looks like, this doesn't look like wear and tear. This looks like vermin chewed it. That's literally what it looks like to me. There's coating and stuff on it, so it's kind of hard. I'm trying to put it in front of the camera. But this actually looks like it possibly, like, I don't know, it just looks like something chewed the shit out of it. So a mouse or some kind of vermin, because the wagon is out in the driveway, and I do keep it covered, but there's nothing covering the underside of the car. Not these components. It has some cladding and stuff like the other cars do, to protect the undercarriage, but some of this stuff, it is exposed. And now granted, this is probably the original oxygen sensor for the car. I still have yet to go through all the maintenance records for this car. But the gentleman I bought the car from, this car was very well maintained. It's 25 years old, but it was very well maintained by the previous owner, because he was actually a Mercedes-Benz mechanic, and he was one of the owners of the car. He had purchased the car, I think he purchased the car secondhand for his wife to drive. She drove it for several years. Then she wanted to trade up to another wagon. He sold it to another customer of his and continued to service the wagon for this new customer. And then the new customer decided to trade up several years later, and he actually bought it back from her and then sold it to me. So I have tons of records on this car with regard to the maintenance, which is one of the reasons why I purchased it, because especially with older cars, I've learned, bless him, I've learned from Sebastian, if you buy an older car, try and know what you're getting, and try and have some history for it, some service history, because if you don't, you don't know what you're getting. The wagon, it's for its age, especially, it's in really good shape. This oxygen sensor wearing out, again, this car has 228,000 miles on it. So parts do wear out over time, even on a Mercedes. This sensor probably would have, it would not have died as soon as it did, had it not been like molested by vermin. But because the other one, when I was under there looking, the other one looks just fine. And it may fail one day too, and I may have to crawl into the car again. And next time I do, I'll know exactly what I'm doing, and it's like easy peasy. This literally took 5 minutes. The hardest thing about this, and this is something that, again, I'm right-brained, it takes a minute. How to loosen bolts. It sounds easy, lefty-loosey, counterclockwise. Well, that depends on where you're laying under the car, and it depends on which direction you're laying. I know it sounds crazy, but I was actually I was trying to loosen the bolt, and I was actually smacking the wrench the opposite direction. I was tightening it rather than loosening it. And I made the same mistake last year when I replaced the struts on Werner. I was trying to loosen the bolts, and I did the passenger side first, and the passenger side, again, it depends on which side. So the passenger side, in your mind, you're loosening it, in theory, the correct way. On the driver's side, you kind of have to reverse your way of thinking, and you have to smack it the opposite direction that you think it should be smacked. And it took me a minute, and then I got back under the car, and I kind of cocked my head, and I'm looking straight onto the bolt. And I'm like, wait a minute, you dumbass. You've been trying to loosen it the wrong way, because you were laying under the car, like, basically backwards. So, blonde moment, but not so blonde. I mean, it's just, it takes a minute to think about some of this stuff. So once I realized that I was actually smacking the wrench the wrong direction, and I got under there and I started loosening it the right way, boom, it like loosened it, and it took me literally like 2 minutes to change out that part. Once I got the thing loosened and got it unscrewed, and I mean, it was so fast and easy. So again, this is easy stuff. If I was to take this to a mechanic, again, you know, they would have charged me like probably an hour of labor, which would have been, the place across the street charges $140 an hour. And then the part, and this was an original, you know, I may be broke, but when it comes to parts for these cars, I absolutely try not to skimp. So I bought an original Bosch oxygen sensor. This is what would have been, this is what I just pulled out. That's what Mercedes uses. They use German Bosch made parts. So, and I got it off of Amazon for like $30. And again, shop around. This is just another FYI, shop around. I went on to, I shop out everything. So when I went to look for this part, first I went on to a few of the automotive websites that I buy parts for to make sure that I was actually looking at the right part number, because I hadn't pulled the old part off yet to look. And then once I had the right part number and I knew which one I needed, then I hopped on Amazon. $30 on Amazon versus $60-ish on a regular auto parts website for European cars. So again, common sense, always shop, always shop. So this was a $30 part. It took me, you know, once I figured out what I was doing and got the car jacked up and got everything ready to go, it actually took like 5 minutes, you know, to do the work part itself. I probably spent an hour and a half or so getting the car jacked up, getting the tools ready and all that, like the prep. But I mean, again, like, you know, $30 for a part and a few hours of my time on a weekend versus spending, you know, a few $100s or more to have a mechanic do it. It's just a no-brainer for me. And I am on a budget. I don't have unlimited funds. So I have to be careful, and I have to learn how to do this stuff myself. And I'm glad I do, because again, I understand these vehicles much better. When something goes wrong, I know whether to panic or not. I know how to check, like the newer cars, even this is the newest car I have that you can actually hook up to a scanner to spit out data. Werner, the green car, he's just a little bit too old for that. So he's old school when it comes to trying to diagnose. The wagon and everything else that I have that's newer than the wagon, you plug in a scanner and it basically tells you what the fault codes are. And then from there, you research it, diagnose it, figure out what's wrong with it, buy a part, replace it. That's what the mechanics do. When you take your car in, they hook it up to a scanner. That's how they know. They're not that brilliant. I mean, they're smart, don't get me wrong. To do this kind of work, you can't be an idiot. Like, there's a lot you have to know to be a mechanic, absolutely. But they're not Einstein, you know. They hook these cars up to computers and let the computer tell them what the possible problem is. Old school mechanics, they were a lot smarter, so to speak, because they had to have a lot more just knowledge in general when it came to diagnosing things. But anyway, so everything I wanted to do this weekend is done, and now tomorrow I still have a free day. So tomorrow I'm probably going to take the dogs over to the park again, because we had so much fun last weekend, and probably go and get ice cream again, because I think I deserve some ice cream, and the dogs definitely do, because bless their little hearts, they've been inside while I've been out here in the garage. So now we're going to have quality family time.